What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. In today's video, I wanted to discuss how quarterbacks react to pressure within Madden 22. And first, I want to start off with an example here of a CPU-controlled quarterback reacting oddly to the pressure that's coming at him. Now, I'm not saying that quarterbacks should not react to pressure that's coming at them, but what we're going to see here is a little bit odd in terms of how we actually react to that pressure. I wish that Madden, or rather EA, would distinguish better between the different types of quarterbacks in the game, even if they have to go to the lengths of coding each quarterback to respond and play the way that they should play. Now, in this situation, what ends up happening, and I'll play it through full speed, Derek Carr drops back to pass, some pressure comes through up the middle, and he turns around and takes a safety or takes a sack near the end zone or in the end zone. I don't know what they actually called it here. They probably called it a sack, not a safety, based on the line of scrimmage, or sorry, based on where he was when he initiated the sack. But the point here with what I'm saying is I feel like the end part of this play where the quarterback takes a quick step forward and then turns around, completely basically turns his back to the field, is a very, very unrealistic way to represent a quarterback reacting to pressure. There's a couple things here that I find that are glaringly wrong with this. Number one is this step up into the pressure. This quarterback's eyes, I understand, are downfield, but there's no way that he doesn't see this defensive lineman coming at him. In this situation, he has a couple of options. He has to try to roll out of the pocket, which would be a backwards roll, which he doesn't do. He actually tucks and tries to come up into the pocket against this pressure, which just shows a inaccurate reaction to the pressure that's coming at him, possibly a reaction to that right end or something like that. But it seems like, regardless, quarterbacks, number one, don't react properly to the pressure that's coming at them, and number two, don't seem to take into account the multiple pressures that are coming at them. They seem to react to one pressure, which can lead them directly into a bad situation, as opposed to reacting to what's around them. Now, I know not every quarterback's perfect at this. I know not every quarterback is good at reacting to pressure and things like that, but in this situation, it is a bit odd that he would potentially, looks like, react to that left end coming at him from the right side and step up into the defensive tackle that is right in his face. I would think that he would see this D tackle right in his face and not try to move up towards him. Then he does recognize that guy right in his face and turns around and turns his back to the field. But again, there are a couple of very, very odd things going on here with this play. Number one, he rolls to the left. He's a right-handed quarterback. Now, I'm not saying that as a right-handed quarterback, you always have to roll to the right side, but when you see this pressure coming, if you are trying to look to give yourself an opportunity to throw the ball, which looks like is what he's trying to do right now, you're going to want to have it so that your throwing arm has an ability to throw that ball downfield. Okay, that's fine. Let's say he makes the decision to roll to the left, whatever that is. You still need to have receivers on the left side of the field. This is a play where every single receiving target is going to the right side of the field, which means that the quarterback is completely unaware of what his receivers are doing on this play. And again, I know this is a lot of complicated coding and things that go into this, and I know a lot of people like to drop comments and say, you fix one thing, it leads to other issues. I get that. But we are talking about the major football game, the American football game that is on the market. It's the game. It needs to be done right. Hire more people if you need to do it. Do what you need to do to fix this issue. So we're running away from the pass rusher and we're turning our back to the field. We're scrambling in the opposite direction of all of our receiving options. We leave ourselves no choice but to just take the sack here at the inch-yard line. And I feel like there are a couple of ways that this could be resolved in terms of, where this quarterback should actually be going. If you recognize this pressure right here, why are we not throwing this ball to this wide open receiver right here? Or why are we not throwing this ball into this wide open space where there's no defender? Throw it low, throw it towards the ground like NFL quarterbacks will do. Why are we not checking it down to our nearest player? Why are we, if we are going to take this sack, not just tucking the ball right here and taking the sack for self-preservation, saving your team a yard, taking the sack, preventing a strip sack or a touchdown or anything like that. Again, an unawareness of the part of the field. And that's the next part that I want to get into, is that there's a complete lack of awareness here from the quarterback of the positioning of the field. And again, I know not every quarterback's great at this. Not every quarterback is great at their situational awareness, but to run straight back into the end zone is not a good decision. And most quarterbacks would probably know not to run straight back into the end zone for a potential safety. They might drop back into the end zone, or they might try to scramble away, but again, that presents another issue here. This is Derek Carr. He's not the most athletic quarterback. These quarterbacks need to have awareness of what their stats are. This quarterback should know, I'm not faster than these defensive linemen. I'm not getting away from them. I shouldn't try to scramble out of the pocket. We're not Patrick Mahomes. We're not Lamar Jackson, and we should know that. However, every single quarterback in the game seems as if they're programmed like they are Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, and they're always trying to scramble out of the pocket. They're always trying to get away from pressure, and that just simply does not happen in the NFL. That doesn't happen in real-life football. Sometimes quarterbacks take the sack. Sometimes they step up in the pocket and deliver a throw. Sometimes they just throw it away. Sometimes they throw it at a guy's feet. Sometimes they throw it out of bounds. There are so many different options, but instead what we get over and over and over again is this: turning our back, running away from where our receivers are, not even giving ourselves an option to throw the football, and not even giving ourselves an option to save some yardage. And then the next problem that I have here is CPU quarterbacks always reacting to your pass rush moves, regardless of whether they are successful or not. Now, this situation is not going to be the best example by any means, but I was struggling to actually get pass rush moves off with these defenders because they were all drained here for some reason. So regardless, I'm going to use this example, but the concept remains the same, and I'm sure that some of you guys have experienced this. When you execute a pass rush move, whether you are successful with it or not, you've probably seen the CPU quarterbacks that you've gone up against throw the ball immediately. And this is what happens right here. I'm user controlling this defensive tackle. I attempt to do a bull rush move, and therefore that triggers the quarterback to immediately throw the ball to a receiver. And now this is kind of a dangerous throw right here because there's so many defenders. There's actually more defenders here on this side of the ball than there are receivers. Luckily, the quarterback, the CPU quarterback, completes the pass, and this defender is on a blitz from that cornerback spot, so he, doesn't react to the throw going that way. So they do get lucky in this situation, but it creates a lot of problems for the CPU quarterback whenever they do this, and they are triggered to have an automatic pass because in reality, he has a pretty good pocket here. He doesn't have to throw this away immediately, and if he waits for a second or two, he's going to have one of his speedy receivers coming open across the middle. He's going to have an open target that could probably get him, might even be able to get him a touchdown if he can break the middle of the field here, could probably get him 10, 15 yards. And so the CPU quarterbacks are programmed to essentially throw it away whenever they're going up against a user who performs a pass rush move. And this creates some issues in franchises because unless you get glitchy, unless you get cheesy in a franchise mode, it's actually really hard to generate a fair number of sacks with legitimately good players within franchise mode. It's actually pretty difficult at times because of CPU quarterbacks doing this stuff. And then the other problem is that CPU quarterbacks are super accurate, and if you try to take down their accuracy, then they don't move the ball downfield at all. So you're on this kind of weird positioning where you can't turn down the quarterback accuracy, so they have perfect accuracy on these throws. Anytime you do a pass rush move, they're triggered to immediately throw the ball, so they have perfect accuracy on an open receiver because they always find the first open receiver, and it just creates this weird dynamic where the CPU is hyperactive sometimes whenever you're going against them, and essentially just creates a very unrealistic dynamic. Now, I don't mind the CPU's quarterbacks throwing the ball away and making a quick pass and making a quick read. That's fine. But when I'm actually doing simulation gameplay where it's CPU versus CPU, the quarterback better be acting the same way, and they just simply don't. They hold on to the ball for way too long. So I don't know what they would have to do in order to fix this, but there's got to be a better timing here whenever a CPU quarterback is going against a user where they sit in the pocket for a little bit longer. But then again, like I showed you guys earlier, the quarterback needs to not hold on to the ball so long and make stupid decisions when it's CPU versus CPU. So the entirety of this video is just simply saying they need to code quarterbacks to react to pressure properly, and it needs to be consistent no matter what type of game you're playing, whether it's CPU versus CPU or CPU versus user. And I know that they present different problems and things like that, but it's like you're playing two completely different games. It's a little bit bizarre to me. Let me know down in the comment section if you guys have ever experienced this or seen any of this. I know that it's a little bit of a niche thing because not everybody plays CPU versus CPU gameplay, but you know, I play against the CPU a lot, and it's very telling about, you know, what's actually going on within the game because you get to see the flaws of the coding of the game. You get to see the flaws of how these players play more that way because they're not being fully user controlled, and that's where a lot of the issues come into play, in my opinion, and a lot of the issues get to be exposed. Because you can really see those flaws happening in live action, whereas when you're playing user versus user, a lot of it is user input and user control, so you don't get to see these issues with the game and the way that the players are programmed to play as often. So, you know, like I said, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video if you're enjoying these types of discussion videos and you know, things that we need to see improved for future Maddens, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Leave a comment. Let me know if there are any topics you'd like me to discuss in similar videos like this. I'll see you in the next one. Hope you have a good one.